Welcome to Trivia Teacher. Today we have 20 questions on the most famous crimes in history. Please share your score in the comments. Which infamous serial killer was known as the Son of Sam? Ted Bundy, David Berkowitz, or John Wayne Gacy? David Berkowitz. What was the nickname of the notorious serial killer who terrorized London in 1888? The Boston Strangler, the Zodiac Killer, or Jack the Ripper? Jack the Ripper. Which serial killer cannibalized his victims and was known as the Butcher of Plainfield? Jeffrey Dahmer, Ed Gein, or Albert Fish? Ed Gein. Who was the Night Stalker responsible for a series of home invasions and murders in California? Richard Ramirez, Gary Ridgway, or Dennis Rader? Richard Ramirez. Which American serial killer operated in the 1970s and was nicknamed the Killer Clown? Albert Fish, John Wayne Gacy, or Ted Bundy? John Wayne Gacy. What was the infamous moniker given to the unidentified serial killer who operated in Northern California in the 60s? The Zodiac Killer, the Green River Killer, or the Hillside Strangler? The Zodiac Killer. Which female serial killer was convicted for murdering her 7 partners by poisoning them with arsenic? Eileen Wuornos, Belle Gunness, or Nanny Doss? Nanny Doss. Which serial killer was known for his time in the community as a well-respected businessman and was later discovered to have killed multiple young men? Ted Bundy, Dennis Nilsen, or H.H. Holmes? H.H. Holmes. What was the nickname of the serial killer who murdered numerous women in the Pacific Northwest during the 1980s? The BTK Killer, the Green River Killer, or the Night Stalker? The Green River Killer. Which serial killer, also known as the BTK Killer, taunted police and the media with letters about his crimes? Jeffrey Dahmer, Gary Ridgway, or Dennis Rader? Dennis Rader. Which serial killer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, targeted and murdered young men and boys? Ed Gein, Jeffrey Dahmer, or Ted Bundy? Jeffrey Dahmer. What was the pseudonym used by the serial killer who murdered 5 prostitutes in the East End of London in 1888? The Boston Strangler, Jack the Ripper, or the Son of Sam? Jack the Ripper. Which serial killer operated in the Los Angeles area during the 80s and was convicted of 10 murders? Richard Ramirez, Gary Ridgway, or John Wayne Gacy? Richard Ramirez. Who was the serial killer known as the Monster of the Andes, responsible for the murders of over 100 girls? Pedro Alonso Lopez, Andre Chikatilo, or Harold Shipman? Pedro Alonso Lopez. Which notorious serial killer kept a detailed diary of his crimes, resulting in over 500 murders in Colombia? Harold Shipman, Pedro Alonso Lopez, or Luis Garavito? Luis Garavito. Which serial killer from the Soviet Union murdered over 50 women and children? Andre Chikatilo, Albert Fish, or Eileen Wuornos? Andre Chikatilo. Which female serial killer was known for her method of luring men into her home and killing them for insurance money? Belle Gunness, Nanny Doss, or Eileen Wuornos? Belle Gunness. What was the nickname of the serial killer who targeted women in the 1940s, removing their body parts? The Night Stalker, the Black Widow, or the Cleveland Torso Murderer? The Cleveland Torso Murderer. Which serial killer, also known as the Angel of Death, was a doctor responsible for numerous patient deaths? Harold Shipman, H.H. Holmes, or Eileen Wuornos? Harold Shipman. Last one. Who was the famous serial killer who confessed to more than 90 murders but was only convicted of 30 homicides? Ted Bundy, Gary Ridgway, or Samuel Little? Samuel Little. Thanks for playing this quiz. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.